A new semester began today at the University of Idaho. Classes resuming for the first time since a suspect was arrested in the murders of 4 students. The killings obviously gripped the campus and with fear since November. Bryan Kohberger will appear in court again tomorrow. Meanwhile, a lawyer for the family of one of the victims, told People magazine that none of them knew the suspect or had any idea that they were in danger. Harry Tuchman joins us now live from Moscow, Idaho, with more. So what happens tomorrow?
Anderson, the accused murderer, will have his second appearance in court in this courthouse here in Moscow, Idaho. Exactly a week ago, he had his initial appearance in court. When he came into the courtroom, when he sat down, he showed no emotion at all. He smiled a little bit to his public defender. We'll see what happens during this second appearance. During this appearance, it's expected there will be scheduling discussions about future pre-trial hearings. Now, last week, during the initial appearance hearing, on the same day, the police affidavit was released. We were awaiting that because it contains reasons they arrested this man, including police believe they found his DNA on a knife sheath that was found on the bed of one of the victims. In addition, police say that one of the housemates who survived heard crying, stepped outside her room, saw a man in black clothes, a mask, and bushy eyebrows. They say her description helped lead to more evidence against him. And finally, police say that his cell phone signal was detected on at least 12 instances over the 5 months prior to the murders right near the house. And also it was detected about 5 hours after the murders, after the sun came up. This is a death penalty state. Anderson, prosecutors will have to decide if they will seek it.
As we mentioned, the first day of the spring semester was today for most students there. Have you talked to any students about how it feels to be back on campus?
Yeah, I went out on campus today and talked to some of the students. Everyone I talked to who came back to start class today is very grateful that a suspect was caught. You know, this is a very safe city, Moscow, Idaho, and the campus is very safe. And what happened over the past several weeks and the end of the fall break is a lot of people were walking in pairs, walking with buddies, or walking in groups. And many of the people I talked today say they will continue to do that even though a suspect has been caught.
Gary Tuchman, appreciate you being there. Thank you. For more on what to expect tomorrow when the suspect appears in court, we're joined by criminal defense attorney Mark O'Mara. So you heard Gary's report. What are you anticipating is going to happen in the hearing?
Well, tomorrow is not going to be as significant as the one a week from now. Tomorrow is sort of a status conference. The judge will let them know what's coming up next. The most significant hearing, Anderson, is going to be within about a week, because 14 days from last week, they have what's called a preliminary conference. And that's where the state presents even more evidence to try and show up that they have affirmative probable cause to keep him. And then at that point, trial dates will start getting set. So tomorrow, as was said by the reporter, some scheduling, keeping things on track. There always has to be a next court date, but I think the most significant ones are coming up in the next couple of weeks.
And before the release of the probable cause affidavit, the suspect's attorney in Pennsylvania said that the suspect believes he'll be exonerated. Now, investigators seem to have what would appear to be strong evidence against him, especially with the DNA found on the knife sheath. What are the chances you think this would go to trial as opposed to a plea deal?
Well, you know, it's so hard to say. In many of these cases, like the ones that we see with this type of horrific events, what happened with the death of 4 young college students, you know, what is he going to get offered that he would accept? If it's his hubris that he thinks he's going to be exonerated, that he may very well want his day in court, even if he just has this belief, sort of like Ted Bundy years and years ago, he liked the idea of the spotlight. So it's really hard to say, but I will tell you, with the enormity of evidence, even in just the 20 pages that we have and the tens of thousands that are coming, it is going to be hard pressed for any, even a very good defense team, to be able to convince reasonable doubt exists in this case. It again may turn into something of trying to minimize the damage to him.
And in the court documents that were released last week, I mean, there were a number of details, but there's a lot more that police probably have already, or that law enforcement already has, that they don't need to put into those court documents.
Well, absolutely. They're going to they had to put a card or two on the table. They had to put enough on the table to make sure that this judge kept him in under no bond. And in the next hearing, the probable cause hearing, they're going to throw another card or two. But don't forget, they have a lot of work to do. They want to make sure that all of their T's are crossed and their I's are dotted. They don't want to give the defense any more than they have to, unless and until they have to. And Idaho has discovery requirements, so we'll have that. But no. I think they're going to play their cards close to the chest for a while to make sure that everything that they've said, the forensic and whatnot, is very well founded.
We learned last week that there, according to law enforcement, there is a witness. There were a roommate who actually saw the killer leaving the room. We don't know much more about them. We only, obviously, not their identity. They're just the initials in the court documents. But we haven't heard from that person. Is that something that would come out in court documents prior to a trial?
Oh, absolutely, prior to a trial. We may hear more about that next week, and certainly it's going to come out in discovery because there's so many unanswered questions with that witness. Why she waited 8 hours? It could be something as simple as, college kids. They were drinking or intoxicated or whatever else, didn't want the cops in the house. There's something more about that, not nefarious, not some conspiracy, but some reason why she waited 8 hours to do anything. Even with just the idea that some stranger is in her house, you would think something more would have been done than nothing. But again, I think we'll find out with the thousands of pages that are coming.
As we mentioned tonight, the parents of one of the victims has said that the alleged assailant didn't know any of the victims. I'm not sure how they would have that knowledge, but you've seen a lot in your career. Would that surprise you?
It would surprise me for a number of reasons. One, the stalking, that he was looking at the house or around the house or pinging his cell phone around the house for weeks prior. There's something there. And plus, even the type of murder, if you really just try to analyze it, using a knife is a very personal way to kill somebody. It's very violent. So you have to wonder, was he infatuated? Was he getting back at being rejected? There's probably something in that background of him and the interaction with at least one of the people, if not more, at that household that caused this type of violent reaction by him. It is more than just, he picked the house by coincidence. That is not what happened here.